Hello everybody. We are here today and I have two helpers with me. I have Landon and I have Emily, and they're going to be helping me put together our terrariums. So if you're here because you purchased one of our terrarium kits, thank you. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with them. Otherwise, if you're just here for more information about terrariums or our carnivorous plants, there'll be a lot of info for you here too. So I'm going to kind of talk about the process. So if you guys have your kits ready, you should have everything you need in the kit that you picked up from us. So I'm going to go through step by step, and as I talk, Emily and Landon are going to show you how to do it, and then I'll just talk about each step and why we do it, and then a little bit more about the plants, and then how to take care of your terrariums and make them last a really long time. So the first thing, we have our terrarium bowls, and these are really cool. They're actually made from recycled glass. So if you see, some of them may be a little bit different tint than other ones, but that's because they're all recycled, so that's really neat. The first step, make sure that your terrarium is clean, and all your terrariums should be, because we got them right out of the box and gave them to you guys. But we're going to start with all the different layers that we need to make the pot conducive for the plants that we're going to put in there. So first thing we're going to do is a layer of rocks or pebbles, some type of stone that you want to put on the bottom. So we have our stone here. You guys should have a bag of stone in your kits. So go ahead and open those up. I'm going to have you just take a couple handfuls, and then really gently we're going to put them at the bottom of our glass bowls. And you just want to have an even layer of stones. They don't have to be too high, but you want to put them in gently. Yep, so you're going to need a little bit more because you don't want to see the bottom. Put them right in there, honey. You don't want to see the bottom of your bowl, so you want it all to be covered. And what this is doing is, because our glass bowls don't have any holes in the bottom, so our water can't get out. So what this is doing is it's allowing the water to sit on the bottom and giving it room to evaporate so that the water can come back up and then the plants can use the water again. So we need this layer on the bottom. Here you go, Landon, so you can keep filling in. And again, that's just so the water has somewhere to sit, so it's not sitting in the roots of the plants. So that's our first layer. So does everyone have their stones in their glass terrariums? You can keep going. Oops. We just want to make sure. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is charcoal. So you guys should have a little bag about this size that is filled with black and white. It looks like little stones, but it's actually our charcoal. The reason we put that in there is because, just like in our fish tanks and our filters, we have charcoal to clean the water. That's exactly what it's going to do in our terrariums too. So the charcoal is going to make sure that our water is clean, so our plants are getting the best water possible. So I'm going to have you take this and just kind of shake it over, just a thin layer. So you guys are going to open up your bags and just kind of put a thin layer. You don't need a whole lot, just on top of just a little bit, so it gets a little bit over there. Just so your stones have this layer of charcoal or carbon on top, and that's going to purify your water. That's good. Okay, Landon, I'm going to put a few more stones in the bottom for you. And then you're going to shake very lightly, put your charcoal. And again, that's just making sure that our water will be nice and clean for our plants. So just make sure that it's evenly spread in your stones. Okay. Once we have that, we're going to do our next layer, which is sand. So you guys should have a little baggie that looks like this with your sand. We're just going to take some handfuls. Landon, you can use this one. And we don't need it really thick, but we're probably looking at about a half of an inch of sand. So you can put that on top of your rocks and your charcoal. And what this is doing, it's just giving another layer for the water to go through, to sift through, just so that the water isn't sitting in the roots of the plants. So this is just all kind of the layers that we want the water to work through. So good job. So you may have a little extra in your bags, and that's okay, but we only want about a half an inch of soil of sand, because we want to have plenty of room for our soil. So that's good. Yep, perfect. Yep, that's good. Yeah, it's just so we don't see the stones. Once you have covered up the stones, you're good. That's good, Landon. So like Landon has a little bit of extra sand, so you guys can do whatever you want. You have some extra sand, but this is a good layer of sand. Okay, the next layer is the soil. So you guys should have a big bag of soil. Now what I did is I watered, because we actually have holes on the bottom of this container. I watered this soil so that it was damp. But even if you want to just open up your bags and take a spray bottle and spray inside the bag, because it's going to be a lot easier and a lot better to plant in this wet soil than dry soil. We always plant all of our flowers and plants in wet soil. So our soil, if you look in here, is going to be damp. It's going to be wet. So we're going to use this soil in our terrariums. So we're going to have Emily take some handfuls and put it inside her terrarium. So again, just open up the bag, kind of spray it, get it moist. You just don't want to use dry soil. And you want to have a pretty good layer of soil. Our audience is joining in here. They're very excited. They're pretty sure we're all going to be movie stars with this video. Yeah, so that's good. Now this is the thickest layer that you want to have. So when you're looking at your terrarium, you want to have at least an inch of soil because your plants need that to get rooted in. So I'm going to put just a little bit more, and then I'm going to give this to Landon and he can put his soil in. Okay, so now we have all of our layers of our terrarium. Now our next step is going to be to plant our plants. So you guys should have 2 tropicals in your kit. So they're going to be things like ferns or ivies. Tropicals are things that like to be moist. They like to have a lot of water. So those are 2 things. And now Emily, I had to take my example apart. So that's why Emily's is not in pots. But here's some examples of what you could find in your kit. Now when you take your plants out of the pot, some of them may come apart like this, and that's totally fine. You can use them in 2 different spots then. Don't pull them apart if they are stuck together, but if they start to come apart, that's okay. And then you can separate them and use them in different parts of your terrarium. So what you're going to do for the next step, we're just going to start with the tropicals for right now, and then we're going to talk about the carnivorous Venus flytraps in a minute. But what we're going to do, you're going to make a little, I'm going to put a little bit more soil in yours, Landon. All you're going to do is make a little hole with your fingers wherever you want to put it. So we have a little hole here. Just use your fingers, make a hole. Then you're going to take your plants out of the pot. What you want to do is turn it upside down, hold on to it, and then just squeeze it like this. And a lot of the soil is going to come off, and that's okay. Because really all you need is the roots, the root ball. So if you have a bigger root ball, you can even break some of it off. Just make sure that you have still a pretty good sized root ball. So then you're going to take that, you're going to put it in your hole, and then you're going to gently take the soil with your fingers and put it over the roots. That's perfect. So put it in there, and then just gently cover it up so that you can't see the roots anymore. And then the plants are in place. Then you're going to take your second tropical, and you're going to do the same thing. So take it on its side, put your hand here, and then kind of squeeze the pot and pull it out gently. And that's okay if a bunch of soil comes off. You just want to have the roots. Okay, so make your hole with your 2 fingers wherever you want it to go. And then you're going to place this inside. Perfect. And then gently cover up the roots. Okay, while they're finishing that, let's talk about our carnivorous plants, our Venus flytraps. You guys may have different looking Venus flytraps. I think a lot of us think of a Venus flytrap as the ones that look like this, with kind of the little mouth that closes. That's one type of Venus flytrap. We also have these. And what these do is the bug gets trapped and then it curls up with the bug inside. So that's another kind of Venus flytrap. And then the third one, they actually have their traps on the end of their leaves, and the little top will open, and when a bug goes in, the top will close. So these are all different kinds of Venus flytraps that you could have in your kit, but they all do the same thing. They all like little bugs and they like to capture them. Now, before we plant our Venus flytraps, here's some things that you guys need to know, because the tropicals are pretty easy to take care of. They just need water, they need light. The Venus flytraps are what you want to be careful about. So first, don't feed your Venus flytraps yet. I know that's the most exciting part and you want to feed them. But they came to us from a really warm climate, so they've kind of gone dormant. So if you look, some of your Venus flytraps may even have some kind of like black, and that's okay. they're dormant for right now, which means they're kind of sleeping right now because it's colder. Even in the greenhouse, it's colder than what they're used to. But if you look inside your Venus flytrap, especially the ones like this, you're gonna see little tiny green spouts coming out, and you may even see little tiny new Venus mouths coming out because they're starting to come out of their dormancy. So that's why we wanna give them time to come out and be ready until their mouths start to open and they're bigger. Then they're ready and you can feed them, okay? So for right now, plant them in your terrariums and give them a little bit of time to get used to their new homes before you start feeding them. Now when it comes to feeding them, they only like to eat insects. So if you have little bugs, little flies, you can feed them, but you cannot feed them that often. If you feed them once a week, that's plenty, because really they don't even need to eat insects. They can, but they don't need it. They can still get their nutrients from sun and the soil. So you don't want to overfeed them, because then it takes a lot of energy. When they get one little bug inside their Venus flytrap, it takes a lot of energy for them to break down that bug. So if you're giving them too much, they're using all their energy and they're not going to live very long. But once they start to get bigger, and even, like I said, even if they're looking black and shriveled, that's okay, because there's actually a bulb in there where all the energy is, and they're still going to come back to life. So just give them a little bit of time. Don't feed them more than once a week. The other thing is they love sunlight. So when you have these in your house, make sure you're putting them in the brightest window that you can. So whichever window gets the most sun, because they just love to be in the sunlight. They're actually mostly in North and South Carolina, so it's very warm there and lots of sunshine. So they really like that atmosphere. The other thing too with watering, their favorite type of water is rainwater. So if you would like, the best thing you could do for your Venus flytraps is to put a little cup outside when it's raining and collect a little rainwater and use that to water your terrariums, because that's their favorite type of water. Otherwise they like distilled water or reverse osmosis water. They don't really like it out of the tap because there's too many minerals and they're not used to that. So rainwater is best, otherwise distilled or reverse osmosis is the best. Your tropicals aren't that picky, but since we have our Venus flytraps in there, we have to be a little bit more careful with watering. Okay, so you guys pick out your Venus flytraps that you want to plant in there. And we're going to take those. Did you want this one or that one? Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. And there's not going to be a whole lot of roots, but that's okay, because like I said, they're kind of sleeping right now. So you want to very gently take out, make a hole, and put that in and cover them up. And again, just give them a little bit of time to get used to their new homes, and they'll come back to life. And as soon as they start to get bigger mouths on them, then you can start to feed them. Yep, you can make holes in there. The other thing is you can touch a Venus flytrap and you will see it start to close, but they prefer not to be touched a lot. So once you put them in there, a lot of people will use like a tweezers to get their fly and then put it in there. The other thing too is the insects have to be alive, because if your Venus flytrap doesn't feel movement, then it's not going to close. So you got to make sure the bug is alive. That's okay, bud. You can keep that off. Like I said, it doesn't need a lot of roots because it's kind of sleeping right now. And once you place it in there, then it's going to get more roots on there. Okay. So once you have your Venus flytrap and all of the plants are inside, then you can take your stones, your decorative stones. You guys all picked out the color that you would like. And you can take those and you can put those on the inside wherever you would like them. If you want to cover up the whole area, or if you want to make a little path, whatever you want to do. But it's always good to have another layer of stone on the top of your terrarium. Now, once you guys have your terrariums done, you can either keep the terrarium open and then you're going to have to water it, or terrariums can be closed. So if you have something to go over the top, or if you kind of want to like tape some saran wrap over the top, then they don't need to be watered, because they're going to make their own ecosystem. They're going to make their own rain. You're going to see water start to come down the sides. And the water's just going to keep on an endless cycle inside of your terrarium. And if I can figure it out, I'm going to put a link for a really cool video right here about the ecosystem inside of a terrarium. If I can't figure it out, then I'm just have my hands here for no reason. But I'm really hoping I can figure it out and I can put a really awesome link. If not, I'm going to put it into the info on this video. So if you want to know more about a closed terrarium, and if you want to close yours in any way that you want, then you don't water it, and you just kind of watch it do its own thing, and it has its own water cycle right inside. And in the video it says that one terrarium hasn't been watered for 40 years. That's how long this ecosystem lasted inside this terrarium. So I'll try to put the link to that. But if you keep it open, then you're going to have to water it. And how much to water it, you just want to check. If it feels moist, it's okay. But if it starts to feel dry, then keep watering it, okay? So you don't want it to dry out. And you can even look underneath, and you're going to see that the soil will start to get a lighter color when it starts to dry. So then you'll know to start watering it. Once you have all your stones where you want to put them, you guys also have some fun things to add in there, like moss. Moss is really good to have inside of a terrarium too. You guys may have some dinosaurs or some fairies, and then some little decorative stones. So you guys can decorate your terrarium however you want. Put your little figurines in there wherever you want. Or if you want to put other things in there, I've seen people put little Lego people in there. So if you want to do that, you can. And then you just kind of decorate it however you want. And you can even change it out and put different things in there. But again, try not to touch the plants too much once they're in there. Especially the Venus flytraps. The other thing I wanted to mention in our soil, when you were using our soil, is you see little white things inside of our soil that kind of look like marshmallows. They are not marshmallows. It's called perlite. And what perlite does is that it makes it possible for air and water to get through the soil. And that's what you want in a terrarium. You want soil that has space for the water to get through. If the perlite wasn't in there, the soil would almost turn to mud, and the water would have a really hard time working its way through. So that's why we have soil that has a little bit of mulch in there, a little bit of perlite, just so that there's a lot of space for the water to filter through. So that's why our soil looks like that. So then it's up to you guys. You can make your terrariums look however you want, decorate it however you want, and then again, make sure that they get as much light as possible. As soon as it gets really warm outside, they can take a little vacation outside, but do not keep them out in the rain, because there are no drainage holes, because there would be way too much water inside the terrarium then. So if you bring them outside for a little field trip, it's got to be really warm out, so not yet. Even if it's a beautiful sunny day, wait until it gets warm, and they would love the sunlight outside. But otherwise, they can stay inside. You can take care of them. Just make sure they're still getting light and water. Otherwise, I think that's it. So just have fun like these guys. Thank you to Emily.
Oh, yeah.
And to Landon for being my little helpers. And just have fun with your terrariums, you guys. And we can't wait to see you in the greenhouse again. Thank you.